Good morning and welcome back to the West Ham Network. I am Anton. If you're new around here, please make sure you do go and subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. We're on the march to 20,000 subscribers. There is a little bell notification alongside that will notify you when we have shows coming out on a regular basis. I hope you've enjoyed the recent content we've been doing. We've got loads of stuff coming for you. Yesterday, I did a video on Nketiah from Arsenal, how he is a free transfer come the end of this summer, and how Arsenal are desperately trying to sign him to the contract, but West Ham apparently are in pole position. Go and check out the video I did there. I also did a Hammers headlines yesterday. Go and check out that video. And tonight we have a Mark Noble special interactive quiz. Get yourself involved. 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. This evening. Make sure you do get involved with that as well. That will be really, really good content. Come back, join me at 5 o'clock today for the Hammers headlines. We'll be going through 3 pieces of the headline news regarding West Ham. But today, this morning, I am discussing with you another player that West Ham are linked to, and we're lining up a move apparently for Chelsea striker Armando Broja in the summer transfer window, according to several reports. Now, we know he is on loan currently to Southampton. David Moyes is said to be a big fan of the striker and therefore has placed him on the high up on his list of transfer targets for the summer. The Albanian has notched 9 goals in all competitions whilst on loan for Southampton this season, and he is, in theory, the cheaper alternative to other players like Darwin Núñez, who's going to cost West Ham around 50 million quid. If we were to bring him to the London Stadium. And at the end of the day, though, the Blues Chelsea manager Tuchel will probably have to make the final call on whether or not Broja's career will, go back to Chelsea or go further afield. He's only 20 years old, but he is showing signs of prospering in his role as a striker. And in more recent months, he's looking like the real deal up there as well. He does look a great player for the future, and he has had an impressive season with Southampton, showing all the signs of a great striker at such a young age. He's a relentless striker who has shown he has more than just an eye for goal this season with brilliant all-round displays at Southampton. He was born in Slough, England, and has came through the Chelsea Academy. However, he does represent Albania at international level, just as he did through his youth level, and that's due to the fact that both his parents were Albanian. He can play as a centre forward or out wide as part of a front three. He's got flexibility to fulfill either role and do so at a high level, and would make him a prospect worth pursuing. And I can see why West Ham would be looking at him. And the reason why West Ham will be looking at him, I'll explain to you now in the next section. He's comfortable dropping deep. He's offering an option during build-up play. He makes late runs into the centre of the park from where he can receive passes from deep in the defence from his own half. And he can be the main focal point for teams' build-up play. He's 6'1". He's a strong, strong lad. He has a decent height, but he is very, very strong. And he's lean as well in his build, which goes with it, which allows him to be effective as a target man, but not just as a sole target man. He's comfortable playing off not many touches. In other moments, he gives the impression that he's not, feeling rushed on to pass the ball. But this isn't down a detriment of him, though, or the team. Instead, it shows he's got a really good understanding of when it's the right moment to hold on to possession and allow his teammates to push forward into nearby attacking spaces. Something that we, sometimes get frustrated at Antonio when his backs to goal and maybe he tries to do these flicks and things like that. And I feel like Broja has got the ability to hold up the play and allow other players to come in to that attack. He always backs into his players. He sits low and he makes it difficult for them to push the ball or push him off of the ball. And should he really be drawn into a physical tussle, he, is lean enough and strong enough to be able to 9 times out of 10 be able to handle that and force his way through. And sometimes he gets drawn into a lot of fouls and wins the team a lot of set pieces as well. He does show calmness in his possession, even when heavily surrounded by defenders. His first touch keeps the ball close to him, and his second tends to take him away from the pressure. He's extremely comfortable on the ball, and he does have that kind of, I don't want to say it to get carried away about his ability, but sometimes you get players who are just so comfortable on the ball that they kind of feel like they can just drag it. A bit like Zidane, you could do. You could just drag the ball anywhere, and wherever you went, the ball went with him. I'm just saying Broja can be your cheaper version of that, but he is very, very comfortable on the ball. He's a fantastic finisher, but he isn't a poacher. Let's get this right. He's not just a sole poacher. Instead, he likes to receive the ball on the edge of the area rather than in and around the 6-yard box. Again, working for the team. They don't just come from his right foot, they also come from his left foot, but he's also a threat in the air. And that is good for West Ham, considering how good we have been with our set pieces. He's persistent when pressing and will continue to press the ball even as the player who's had the ball starts to move away. So he covers short distances very, very quickly. And he ensures that he keeps, like, the player, say, who's passed the ball back to the keeper or whatever, close to him, but starts to press the keeper again. And he then forces usually the team into an error. Now, this is a particular trait that I found that Lingard offered West Ham. He pressed the defence and pressed the keeper so much that they were panicking. And I'm not saying we don't do it. We just don't do it as fast as what we did when we had Lingard. And I feel like that's something that we lack sometimes in the urgency of attacking. And I think that maybe Broja could be a player that could offer that. He's an excellent outlet for direct passes forward. You know, you look up, you see the big man holding off the defence, you pass the ball forward, and you bring the other players into play. And he competes really well, and he's a handful for really any centre-back, regardless of whether he wins or loses the ball. He causes them problems, and that does set them up for, sometimes failure, depending if they're marking him. He's got a great work rate. He rushes and hassles the centre-backs all game when they're in possession. And he's a sort of relentless player. Relentless is a key word here. And defenders definitely won't enjoy playing against that kind of player. He's got an excellent burst of pace, like I've said, for a big man. And he's dangerous when he plays as the last man as well. He has pace to cause opposition defenses issues. And if they leave a high line, and we'll look for balls in behind to do exactly that. Whilst he holds the ball up well, he brings his teammates into the game. That is so key. So key. And he's a really well-rounded prospect, a big lad who covers the wings. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. Now, I've got a video. I'm going to play you the video, which gives you some stats and information on what he potentially can offer, but also about his past. Before I do it, please understand what I'm saying to you here. We're not an ITK. We're absolutely not saying he is signing for the club. But we're hearing reports that he is up there on the transfer list. We know he's been linked to the club before. So what we try and do is look at his style of play, what he can offer to the club, and is that something that matches Moyes' movement of West Ham transitioning to the next level. So when you look at a player like Broja, you can't help but think, well, possibly he fits that criteria. Now, the thing is, he signed a contract with Chelsea back in July 2021. It was a 5-year contract extension. So he's got his contract with Chelsea until 2026, and his current contract with Southampton ends at the end of the season because he's only on loan to Southampton. And we know Southampton are desperate to sign him on further forwards, but there is a talent there, and I just wonder if it would suit West Ham. Have a look at this video, and at the end of it, we'll kind of have a little chin wag again about what he potentially can offer. Now, listen, even though I've put all that stuff together, you can see that the guy does obviously have some form of ability. He can find the back of a net, but as of late, things haven't been going so well. So, since I think February, his form has really, you could say, fallen off of a cliff. Um, and you don't know if that's maybe down to the fact that maybe teams are starting to pay attention to the level of quality that he offers. He's gone 12-ish Premier League games without a goal. And what's more concerning is that he's only just had 18 shots at goal in that period, with 5 of those coming in a single game against Brentford. But he is still a really exciting prospect. And I think I mentioned earlier on, he's 6'1". He's actually 6'4", but he is rapid in his fast approach. And I just wonder, other teams are going to be looking around and sniffing around a quality player like him and thinking, do you know what, he's going to come in and do a job. The key thing here for me, this is the key thing now, is Moyes' mindset has changed and changed my mindset as a fan. So it's not really just about the stats. It's not about the fact that you've got to look at a player. Like when I think back to when West Ham were linked to Daka, do you remember Daka, who signed for Leicester? And you looked at his stats and it was goals, 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 goals. But that is not what's going to bring goals, goals, goals necessarily to West Ham, because it's not happened at Leicester for Daka. It's about the right player fitting into the right system. And it's about trying to match that player into the system and see, can we get the best of him? Now, when you look into Broja, and if you've watched much of Southampton games or the Premier League much of this season, when you've seen him playing on form, he's playing in a struggling Southampton side, but there are creative players there. So if you imagine putting Lanzini's, Benrahma's, Fornals, Declan Rice's, Bowen's, in and alongside the likes of a Broja, you start to think, well, maybe we can create these chances. And they always say about a striker, you always have to find yourself to be in with a chance to score a chance. But if you're a striker, never finding yourself getting a chance, then goals will never come. So he's the sort of player that does find himself in dangerous areas for the opposition. And I think if West Ham can center around that and put the main focus of someone like him, then it'll be interesting. Now, listen, the value, we could be talking anything about 20 plus million quid. It just depends on the Chelsea situation and what they're going to do. They've missed out on Haaland. They will have to wait and see what happens with their buyout clause or their buyout situation that's currently going on. And once that happens, are they going to invest into youth? And if they decide to invest into youth, then there's no point in West Ham or any other club looking at someone like Broja, because then they'll be looking at, making the step up from the young process. But if they are willing to let him go, you could be looking at about 20 plus million pounds to bring him in. So he's got Premier League experience with Southampton. He has looked the real deal. And I think that he could be a genuine contender. But week in and week out, like I said, we're not ITKs. You've got Ollie Watkins one week. You've got Nketiah the next week. And the next day, you've got Broja. So it's interesting to see what one comes out here. All we know is that West Ham are going to have some money to spend. And I've spoken to you a lot about players that don't cost money. And this is one of those players that will cost money. Now, he's not going to be the same value of 50 million quid that what we think and expect Ollie Watkins' value to be. So you've got 50 million player, English international or Albanian international for about 20, 25 million quid as well, but does know the Premier League. So it's about weighing it up and what one fits our system better. So I do like the idea of him holding up play. I do like the idea of causing defenses problems. But get your comments in and let me know your thoughts on Armando Broja. Will he be a West Ham player next season? Will he sign on the dotted line for David Moyes? Will David Moyes work on his new striker project? Because there's no ifs or buts about it. We are in for a new project. We're going to see a new project next year. Can Broja work with players like Antonio? Can we see two up front? Can we see Antonio switch into the wing and allow a player like Broja to be the kind of target man up top? But he's a different type of target man to what Sebastian Haller was. Get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Join me for the Hammers headlines at 5 p.m. And tonight we have the Noble quiz at 9 o'clock as well. Stay safe and come on, you Irons.
never stays the same. Want to let it change. It's like a family tree.